This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
Another football season is officially upon us. We cannot wait until Sunday, even though neither of us believe the Patriots are going to have a magical season. We love football, and we love watching the game. We love breaking the game down. There are young players to watch, to hopefully be excited over. We'll get to all of that, but first I remind you, the PrizePicks app. Download that app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Also, shout out to our friends at Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Before we get to our conference previews, Greg, a couple of stories came out this morning.
Okay.
Karen Grisian interviewed Robert Kraft about the upcoming year, and Andrew Callahan of the Herald, of course, Grisian's at Mass Live, want to give them the shout. And then Callahan at the Herald spoke with Elliot Wolf for an interview. Just two things I want to ask you about. And I tweeted about this morning at Nick C Radio if you want to follow me. Greg doesn't need any more followers. He's got like 100,000 people following him. But it was a great column by Karen, who is an OG, does her work better than anybody else. And she met up with Kraft. And here's what Kraft had to say, Greg, about this upcoming year, to go along with his decision to hire Gerard Mayo and Elliot Wolf and all that. Quote, "I'm always thinking about what's right for the long term. Our businesses are private. I don't need to make reports to Wall Street every 90 days. I do what the right thing is strategically long-term. And I think I've done that with Gerard. I'm going to do what my gut tells me and stay with it until I'm convinced it's not right." Grisian writes, of course, Kraft vividly remembers what happened during Belichick's first year. He remembered all the pushback and pundits writing about his huge mistake. Here's what Kraft said about those critics. Quote, "Belichick went 5-11 that first year, and they were killing me. But I'm not going to let doubters influence my life. I'm going to do what's right for this team and our fan base. It's very important that I think we have a management group. I don't know how we're going to do this year, but we have a management group I feel is right for the future." Greg, I'll just highlight some words. In the first sentence, long-term. Third sentence, long-term. Then in the second quote, you have, "I don't know how we're going to do this year, but we have a management group I feel is right for the future." Mm-hmm. I know RKK has talked about making the playoffs and all of that stuff, but I took from this interview, he knows what's going to happen this year, and he's getting people ready for a tough season, reminding them this is about the future. Your thoughts?
So I did skim that interview story. I thought most of it was basically versions of things that he has said, whether it was the owners' meetings or Gerard's introductory press conference.
The trip to Israel was really hit on during this interview.
I mean, I understand why you took that out. What I took out of it was sort of the vibes, Israel, spiritual, like, okay, maybe if I'm picking somebody's godfather, then that's the stuff that's important to me. But, I'm trying to hire a football coach and somebody to win Super Bowls. And, he could feel that way about Gerard Mayo. You could also say that when he hired Bill Belichick, none of those things were true about Bill Belichick in terms of it was all, what we've heard Robert talk about with Bill over the years has all been about his mind, how he thought of analytics, how he thought of economics, like he was ahead of the time. Like you could see, like, so Bill, they believed at the time when they hired him, was giving them an edge football-wise, team-building-wise, that other teams didn't have, that the Patriots weren't used to, that they could use to their advantage. And now I compare that to ways talking about Mayo, and all I could take away from it is Mayo gives the Patriots an edge in terms of vibes and spirituality. Okay. Again, yeah, if I was picking my godfather for my kids, then those things would be important to me, but we're trying to win football games here. So look, just the same way as I talk about like Elliott with personnel, Gerard with his coaching decisions, RKK gets to hire the coach, and he can have his reasonings, and I'm not going to push back hard against it. I'm going to note certain things and some of my worries and some of the things that I like, but largely I'm going to be like, okay, he's earned the right to make the decision. Then the scoreboard will tell the tale. So, just from a football standpoint, if I'm a football fan, I thought the reasonings and a lot of them that we've already heard from Robert for picking Gerard were pretty weak, in my opinion. But it's his team.
Yeah, I would first say I want to get to the comments you're mentioning, and I want to let people know, in case they didn't read the article, what exactly Kraft said. I will say, the benefit of the doubt. You think they hired Pete Carroll. It didn't work out in New England, but Pete ended up being a pretty damn good head coach eventually, right?
Yep. And
then they hired Belichick. So far, so very good when it comes to picking head coaches. But, Greg, what you said about, the spirituality and some of the reasoning, it feels to me like this was a hire done with the heart and not necessarily the head.
Mm-hmm.
And Kraft said, and again, this isn't about religion or spirituality. We're not talking about that part of it. We're talking about that being the reason to hire somebody for a very important job. Kraft said about the trip to Israel, we went to a lot of special places. And then he said, I remember his reaction when he got baptized in the Jordan River.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a sign of spirituality. I could tell that moment was special. Again, I have no idea what in the hell that has to do with hiring him as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kraft said, the main thing, we're at the airport getting ready to leave. So he says, like, this is the main this was the watershed moment. The main thing, we're at the airport getting ready to leave, and there was a big delay. So we had all these guys sitting around. Then Gerard organized a meeting with the forum and held a discussion on the trip. He did it all on his own. And at that moment, I saw the initiative and the way people respected him, and I said to myself, he's going to be our next head coach. Wait a minute. So he got the Yaya Brotherhood meeting together, and they all held hands in the airport. Okay, great. He showed the initiative. But that's back in, 2019?
Mm-hmm.
And Robert saying that it was 5 years ago when he said, this guy's going to be our next head coach. And Kraft, again, this might all work out. And I hope it does. But the reasoning, man, so like 5 years ago, coming off of a very spiritual, emotional trip, in that moment, you made the decision that Mayo was going to be your next head coach. No matter what happened with the team, no matter what happened with Mayo, no matter how the league changed, no matter what Mayo did from 2019 to 2024, I don't love that, Greg.
Yeah, and this is something that we've also talked about, and like, if he was ordained to be the next head coach, which evidently was like 5 years ago, then Robert should have talked to Gerard and said, like, look, you're our next head coach. I want you to prepare for that job down the line. And that might not be here. The way we all know the way Bill is in terms of, titles and responsibilities, and Steve's there. And, like, I've said this before, and even at the time they had that written into his contract succession, like, he would have been better off for a year or two going somewhere and being somebody's defensive coordinator, being in a different system, being with a different offensive system. Maybe he gets buddies with the next offensive coordinator, like, Slowick or Zach Robinson or something like that. If Kraft really believed that, he should have been counseling Gerard to be like, look, you need to stop thinking short term and about here. You need to start thinking globally. So you need to go out and you need to acquire knowledge and experience and all this stuff, so you can come back and be our next great head coach. And none of that stuff happened, and so that's another disappointment. To get back to the quote that you were the quotes that you were talking about earlier on, Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen a lowering of the bar here, and I think at least somebody's giving Robert a dose of reality. And the good thing is, I think Robert will be patient, a lot more patient than the fan base is. But I want them to marry that in terms of personnel and also the quarterback. If everybody's in this for the long term and they don't mind taking short term losses, again, you have to prioritize the development of Drake May. I don't want to win a couple games this year, a couple more games this year, just getting Drake May in. Like, he cannot play until you think he's ready, and there's very little chance of regression. So if this is the way the franchise is going to be, which I do not disagree with at all, I think this is the path they need to go. Make sure you keep a global view of all this, including the quarterback.
It's as if we've done this podcast before. Greg leads me right into Andrew Callahan's interview with Elliott Wolf, and I wanted to touch upon a couple of the comments that Wolf made about Jacoby Brissett starting. He said, quote, "One thing with the quarterback position specifically is we've seen Jacoby do it. We've seen him excel in this offense. I think his best year in the league was in this offense when he was in Cleveland. And so there's just more of a known quantity there with what we have with him. And we feel like he gives us the best chance to win here early in the season." I have another quote, but first on that one, the most telling part to me was, gives us the best chance to win here early in the season. Early in the season, leaving the door open for Drake May to quickly become QB1 if need be, right?
Yes.
So keep that in mind. Second comment, obviously it's going to depend on how the team's doing and if Jacoby's lighting it up. I'll just stop there. So we're wondering, what are the situations where the Patriots might make the change? Elliott Wolf says it's going to depend on how the team's doing and if Jacoby's lighting it up. So even if the team is competing, but Brissett is not necessarily, quote unquote, lighting it up, they could still go to Drake May.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just think, and I think we talked about it last pod, but I don't know. I've been on a bunch of different shows and stuff, so I'm not sure what I've said where. I do think that, I think the only reason that Drake May is in the starting conversation, whether it was for week one or early on in the season, to me, it's more about Jacoby. That I think at a certain point in time with the practices, with his performance in the preseason game, I think it dawned on people, or at least they remembered, they're like, oh, right, Jacoby's really not that good. And, the more that you see him play, the more you see him hesitate and be slow and take sacks and miss open receivers, which, I guarantee next week when we break down the film, on this pod, I think there will be, I'm just going to say right now, I would say the over-under on minus decisions that I have in the game for Jacoby is probably going to be about 5 over-under. And that's normally a lot. I think even for Mac Jones, 3 or 4 would be a lot in terms of just decision. And, that includes taking sacks and taking hits where I give the quarterback part of it where I'm like, you didn't need to do that. You didn't need to take that hit. You had a guy open. You could have made a different decision. So I think that really internally, I think they've been underwhelmed by Jacoby. And I think a lot of them are like, hopefully he can keep it together for 3, 4, 5 games. But eventually it's going to get to a point where, and I think they're there now, where Drake isn't all that far off from Jacoby. And, unfortunately, I mean, I do think it goes to some of the stuff that like the Felgers of the world said about like they needed to pick a better bridge quarterback. I mean, they were trying to sort of thread some very small needle, Nick, in terms of like you could say like go out and sign Baker Mayfield or go and sign Kirk Cousins. Like that's great, but you're talking about guys. First of all, you're going to have to put a lot of resources into them. Second of all, they're sort of alpha dogs, and they're not going to acquiesce. They're not going to go quietly into the night should, the rookie get to a point where he's going to play. You have to find the balance of, okay, you want to get a better quarterback, but, what if the kid's ready, in week 8? How is that veteran going to react? How's that going to affect the rest of the team? It's easy to play fantasy football in a lot of different areas, including this one, where you can just say, well, just go pay Baker Mayfield. Okay, fine. What if Baker's 2-6, the Patriots aren't going anywhere, and they're like, all right, well, the kid's ready to play. Baker could cause all sorts of issues in there that could affect the rookie quarterback. So, that's all part of the discussion too. But I just think that very quickly, Elliott's not wrong in terms of he played well in this offense in 2022. We've talked about it. I think he was 8th in QBR that year. Statistically, you can make that argument. I think the film shows something a little bit different, not quite as good. And you got to remember, he was doing that with Kevin Stefanski basically calling the plays, a really good offensive line. He had Amari Cooper. He had some tight ends. He had Nick Chubb behind him. And so there were a lot of things going for Jacoby. And Jacoby needs to be surrounded by a lot to look like that. The Patriots don't have it. So what's he going to look like this year?
Mayo and Wolf both talked a lot about culture as we went through the offseason. And I think you could look at the decision to bring in Jacoby Brissett versus guys like Gardner Minshew, or maybe spending even more money on a Baker Mayfield. That could have more to do with personality than actual on-the-field play. Wolf might think, we don't know, he might think that Minshew would have been better than Brissett if they brought him in.
Mm-hmm.
Or Baker was going to be better. But as you mentioned, Greg, Gardner Minshew, he's a big personality.
Yep.
I remember all the stories when he took over at Jacksonville. He was like one of the topics of that NFL season.
And his teammates love him.
Yeah, his teammates love him. The media loves him. He's a great interview. He's, again, a big personality. And Baker has a lot of that too. We're like, kind of like, look I've got the cachet. I was drafted at the top of the draft. And, he's got a little bit of magnetism too. Where Jacoby, and this is no slight to Jacoby, but Jacoby's Jacoby. And he's not a bigger than life personality. He of course has an ego. We all have egos. But just looking from the outside in, you could see Jacoby's ego being a little less than the Gardner Minshews of the world or Baker's. So this could be more about who Jacoby is as a person more than who he is as a quarterback, because they know they're going to eventually go to Drake May, and they wanted to bring somebody in who, might not be as good as those two guys, but it's not a huge drop-off, and when you make that move, it's not going to be a big deal. It's not going to become a big deal. All right, we got to get to the AFC preview. I did want to mention before we get to that, though, one more comment from Wolf within that comment about the quarterbacks, and I agree with him here. He says, we just feel like the worst thing that could happen is you put a guy in before he's ready, and then you have to take him out. Whether that's him or somebody in another position, for a young player to not be ready and be put in that position, it can be counterproductive to their career. I agree with that. Like, once you go to the young quarterback, I think it's a terrible idea to then take him out if he's not doing well. I think that can mess him up. But also, beyond the quarterback position, Greg, this might give us a look into the other young guys, right? They might be less prone to play Jalen Polk a lot early because, hey, once we put him there and we got him with all of those snaps, eventually we want him to be one of the guys. We don't want to then take him out if he's struggling. And then the offensive line, Layden Robinson and Caden Wallace, they might be a little bit more patient with Caden Wallace and say, yeah, he might eventually be our guy at right tackle and we slide Onwenu back to the right guard. But we don't want to go to him too early, because if we go to him too early and then we got to pull him out, that's going to screw up his psyche, especially if we're still thinking about maybe down the road moving him to left tackle.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I think Polk's, I think he's ready to play. I think his mental errors, the way I see it on film, and again, I don't exactly know what they're being asked to do. To me, they've gone down with every game. I just think he reminds me a lot of, I think he's a better, well, I've said it before, he's a better Jacoby Brissett, a more athletic Jacoby Brissett in terms of his toughness, smarts, reliability, all that stuff. And so I'm not worried, as opposed to a Javon Baker. Like, I could see that guy being just a mental mess if he's out there and he screws up and the coaches bench him and like all that. We've already seen him go through that in camp after, I think it was the second preseason game when he was kind of a train wreck out there. He got demoted all the way down to third string and, hanging his head and things like that, and let alone going on Instagram and recording stuff about cops giving him a ticket and things like that. But I don't worry about Polk. And I just think, Robinson's been so good. That kid's got to play, and he'll be fine. He'll find his way.
For the record, I agree with you. I'm just looking at how the Patriots might handle it.
Yeah.
Polk better be out there a lot early on.
Yep.
And Robinson should be out there as well. All right, before we get to the AFC preview, we're going to run through a lot here. Let's first get Greg's thoughts on PrizePicks coming up this weekend and what he's looking at and why.
PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. One Caleb Williams passing yard gets you one win on PrizePicks every week in September. I used it. You're going to hear in a second. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on PrizePicks because it's gone when September ends. For this weekend, and pretty much I'm sticking just to the Patriots game because it takes me too much research to figure out what's going on with other teams. At least I know a little bit about what's going on with the Patriots and their opponent that week. So this week on PrizePicks, and I did 6 picks. So I took the Caleb Williams free square, so that's 1. I just have to get 5 out of the next 5. I took Antonio Gibson over 12.5 receiving yards. I think that's definitely going to happen. It could happen in the first quarter with Antonio Gibson. I think they're going to be relying on him a lot in the passing game. I took Hunter Henry, more than 27.5 receiving yards. There was also the catches. I think it was 4. I didn't feel as good about that. I think in this offense, Jacoby loves throwing to the tight end. This offense highlights the tight ends. All they need is one sort of play action seam pass, which this offense loves, and Hunter could hit that again in the first quarter. Jacoby Brissett, I took less, 19.5 pass completions. If he's completing 20 or more passes, the Patriots are in trouble. Now, that could happen. That could be the case. But I think a good day, a competitive day for the Patriots is Jacoby somewhere around 13 of 20, 15 of 22 type of thing. So I went less than 19.5. I feel good about that. I switched over the Bengals for 2 more of my picks. Trey Hendrickson, the defensive end, more than 0.75 sacks. So he needs 1 sack against Chukwuekwuor 4. I'm feeling pretty good about that one. And this one's might be a little bit iffy, but I'm going off history. I went Joe Burrow, more than 0.5 interceptions. Joe has a history of shaky debuts. A couple years ago, he threw 4 interceptions in the first game against some crap bag team. I think he's good for a pick in this game. So those are my picks. Play along with me. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game.
All right, speaking of running, let's run through the AFC preview, NFC preview. We'll start with the AFC East. Greg, who do you have winning the AFC East? And then I know that you also broke down the entire division, so give the people the intel.
So I have it's going to be very close, okay? I have 3 teams within a game of each other, and a lot of this stuff is going to come down to tiebreakers. I see the AFC very close for the last playoff spot. So every sort of head-to-head matchup, tiebreaker scenarios is going to be huge because I actually, at the end of the day, I had 4 teams tied at 9-8 for the last AFC playoff spot. In the AFC East, the champions. No, I don't feel good about this. The New York Jets at 10-7. I have the Bills finishing 9-8 in second place. The Dolphins in third at 9-8 as well. And your New England Patriots, their record for the 2024-2025 season will be 6-11, including 1-5 in the division.
1-5 in the division. All right, so I've got the Jets winning the division as well. Their defense is really good. Saleh's very smart defensively. Yeah, and you're going to get improved quarterback play, even if you don't love Aaron Rodgers. You're not playing Zach Wilson. They won, 7 games last year?
Mm-hmm.
They won 7 games last year with what they had at quarterback. I have to imagine they win 10, especially, I agree with you. I think Miami takes a little bit of a step back, and Buffalo continues to take a little bit of a step back. That makes it a little bit easier for the Jets. My Patriots record is 5-12. I think they finish 5-12. I think their floor is 3 wins. I think their ceiling is 7.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, I'm going to give you my wins. You let me know if you agree with any of them. So I've got them beating Seattle in week 2.
Same here.
The idea is Geno Smith against this defense. I think they can do some things against him that will bother him. Mike McDonald, fantastic singer, tremendous voice range. I mean, his vocal range is out of control. Just check him out, Doobie Brothers and all that stuff. But in his off time, he's the defensive coordinator for the Ravens last year. Now gets the full-time gig at Seattle as the head coach. He's going to throw a lot at Brissett in this offense, but I think they can win that game. I've got them winning against Jacksonville in London.
Okay. I do not have that one.
Okay. I think they can get at Trevor Lawrence. I think they can do some things
or Mac Jones.
Against Mac Jones and get after that defense as well a little bit. And I think you could see more Patriots fans than Jaguars fans in London. I've got them winning the home game against the Jets.
Okay. I do not, but interesting.
What division win do you have for them?
Home to the Dolphins.
Okay. I could see that.
I
thought about that.
And it could be Drake May's first start.
Yes. Week 5. Yeah, I was like between the Jets and the Dolphins for the win in the division. I think they'll get swept by Buffalo. I went with the Jets.
Yeah, I think they're getting closer to, I mean, they've never beaten Tua, but I think they've been getting closer. I think they know how to defend the Dolphins a little bit better. A lot of the stuff that the Patriots are going to want to do defensively, I think Aaron's too advanced. He's going to be able to sniff it out. And so I'm afraid of Aaron if he's healthy this year.
My 4th win of the season at Tennessee.
Yep. We agree on that.
Week 9. I think they'll drive Will Levis batshit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
My 5th and final win, home against Indianapolis.
I agree. That is one of my victories.
Dome team. Richardson, of course, played at Florida, warm weather, played in the Dome, still very raw, lots of talent, but very raw. So those are my 5 wins. You have 6 wins. I think you agreed with Seattle, Tennessee, and Indianapolis. So what are the other 3 wins? You said Miami.
Yeah,
so
week
we got
5
Miami.
at home.
And what are the other 2 wins that you have that I didn't have?
All right, let me just go through them because I didn't remember exactly what you said. So week 2 versus the Seahawks. Week 5, home to the Dolphins. Could be Drake May's first start. Would be a good spot if he's ready and Jacoby is not, quote-unquote, lighting it up. Week 9 at Tennessee, we agreed on. Not a fan of Will Levis. And I just want to bluff Felger about, like, look at the way the Titans did it. You know, they signed so-and-so and Ridley, and they did it the right way. And the Patriots did it wrong. They cheaped out. And guess what? The Patriots beat them. I just want to be able to blow him. Week 11 versus the Rams. And you'll see here 2 of my victories are West Coast teams coming east.
Yes.
Which is going to be tough. And I didn't even look whether those games are 4:00 or 1:00. But if they're 1:00, it's even better for the Patriots. I think the Rams are fine, but I do think, life after Aaron Donald is not going to be easy for those guys. And, they have Jared Verse and all this stuff, but, I'm not crazy about them. Who knows if the quarterback, I wanted to say Sam Bradford for a second. I was going back in the day. What's his name?
Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, Stafford. Who knows if Stafford is even healthy then? Is it Stetson Bennett? Like, who the hell knows? So, I'm just going to go Rams at home with the West Coast team coming east. I have the Colts at home, which we agreed on. Who knows who's a quarterback? Who knows if Anthony Richardson is any good? I do think that team has talent, but we say the same thing every year about the Colts, and they're always the same. They're sort of blah. And this is a bit of a surprise. Week 17 versus the Chargers. Again, a West Coast team coming east. The Chargers are probably going to need that for the playoffs. They'll probably be well primed with Harbaugh and all that. I just feel like, maybe the Patriots catch them napping a little bit. I do think that they'll win one of the last couple games, whether it's the Bills at home and the Bills might not need it or something like that. I think they'll find another victory towards the end of the season. I don't think it'll be like last season when everybody's given up hope and doesn't really care anymore.
I like the Chargers one. I had that as a possible. If I could swap any of the games, maybe they lose in London. I do like the Chargers. By the way, the Rams game is 1:00 Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
The Chargers is TBD.
Right.
So that's the old to be determined.
So the 1:00 games, if that one, probably it'll be a crap bag game. If that's 1:00 too, that's a huge advantage for the Patriots if they're playing at 1:00 Eastern.
It's right before Thanksgiving. Maybe Sean McVay's thinking about turkey.
Yep.
Then you've got, but the Patriots twofold that Chargers game. Number one, they do have to fly to the East, as Greg said. It's also December 29th. So after Christmas, right before the New Year, I would imagine it's going to be cold in New England, maybe a little bit of snow. You get the California team coming cross country to play in some poopy weather.
Yep.
And then Justin Herbert has not been good against the Patriots. And look, some of that could be Bill Belichick, Steve Belichick, but I have to imagine DeMarcus Covington has some tricks up his sleeve. Herbert's been pretty brutal against the Patriots in his young career. So something else to think about. All right, AFC seeds. What do you got?
AFC seeds. Let's see. I have number 1, the Chiefs. Number 2, the Ravens. Number 3, the Texans. Number 4, the Jets. The wild cards, Bengals, Chargers, Bills. And, the Bills just edge out the Dolphins, Jaguars, and Broncos, who are also all at 9-8.
By the way, I'm not saying go bet this, but one of the over-unders that I like this year on wins is Denver. I think they're like 4.5 or 5.5.
Yeah, I don't get that.
You saw him with Russell Wilson last year and all the chaos. Sean Payton, I'm going with at least 6 wins with Sean Payton.
Didn't they win like 7 or 8 games last year? And I don't even know how the hell they did that.
Yeah, exactly. Wilson looked like a right-handed Tebow at times. We agree with all. I think we agree on all 7 teams. I flip-flopped the Ravens and Texans. I got the Texans as the 2 seed. I flip-flopped. I think it was the Bills and Chargers. I got the Bills 6, Chargers 7. But yeah, Chiefs, Texans, Ravens, Jets, Cincy, Bills, Chargers are my 7. All right, NFC. Let's get to the NFC. Your seeds there, Greg.
My seeds in the NFC. 49ers, Lions, both tied at 13-4. I think that was a head-to-head. I think I had the 49ers over the Lions. I'm pretty sure they play this year, and that's why they got the number 1 seed. The Cowboys, 11-6, because I think their division's a bunch of doo-doo. Number 4, Falcons, 5, Packers, 6, Eagles. So Eagles and Cowboys tied at 11-6. Must have been sort of a tiebreaker scenario. Number 7, the Seahawks.
Seattle. I don't have Seattle. I've got Detroit as the number 1 seed. I've got Philly, the Niners, and the Falcons. Cowboys, 5th seed. Rams, Packers. Those are my 7.
So you have the Rams instead of you have the Rams. I have the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take Mike McVay over Mike McDonald.
But I do love his singing.
Yes. Taking it to the streets. I can't not in love anymore. Yeah, I'll give you a little
sweet freedom.
I saw him at Newport with my brother. My brother's a huge Michael McDonald fan.
Wow.
He kicked ass.
Mike and the Mechanics.
He killed it. It was just him and a little keyboard up there. It was a big stage, just him and a little keyboard, like a kid keyboard, and he crushed it. Super Bowl. What's your Super Bowl, Greg?
My Super Bowl is the Chiefs. So I have the Chiefs over the Bengals to get to the Super Bowl, and I have the Lions over the 49ers to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I got the Lions in the Super Bowl. I've got the Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl. Holy crap, Lions, Bengals. Who do you think wins the Super Bowl?
Cats and dogs living together. Total anarchy. I have the Chiefs with the three-peat, and it'll drive people crazy around here. I just think if they can get if they get within sniff, if they can smell that three-peat, that Super Bowl week, if they can get there, I don't think there's any way they're losing that game.
Lions, Bengals. The Lions win the Super Bowl.
Oh, my God.
Hardy.
Hell is going to freeze over.
Hardy does the morning show on 98.5 pantless that week. And it's utter chaos in the streets. We don't even know what to do with ourselves. Before we get to the awards, I want to throw this out there. I am going to dunk so hard on Felger and James Stewart today because your guy, Burt Breer, just went on NBC Sports Boston and said the Patriots offered more than $80 million guaranteed to Brandon Ayuk.
Oh,
boom. Man. Jay Stu and Felger down bad. Oh, I'm going to be insufferable on Twitter. Oh, I hope Jay Stu's ready for the nonstop barrage I'm going to send his way. All right, let's get to awards. We'll start with the easiest, I think. And we'll also do our Patriots awards for each category.
Yep.
MVP, Greg.
Mahomes.
Yep. Patriots MVP.
Ramondre Stevenson.
I would go with Stevenson. You went with Stevenson. I'll throw this randomly out there in Hunter Henry.
Yep. Got a chance.
Offense, tight end driven. He's looked pretty good in camp. I think people overlook how good he is. He can do some things. Offensive player of the year.
Breece Hall, Jets. I just think he's.
Ooh, I like that poll.
Yeah, I just think he's going to be really good in the run game, the pass game. Yeah.
Give me angry Jamar Chase for Cincy.
Nice.
Patriots offensive player of the year.
Pop Douglas. I just think hopefully he stays healthy. This is all a health thing because if he stays on the field, he'll be highly productive. So go with Pop.
We agree. Defensive player of the year.
Micah Parsons. I just can't. But now that Aaron Donald is out, I can't go with anybody. He's the best. He's the best in the league.
Well, if you think about my Super Bowl pick, going to grab somebody from there. I'm going to go with Aiden Hutchinson.
Wow. Nice.
Player of the year. Patriots DPOY.
Keon White. I just think he's I think he's primed. I think he's going to be on the field all the time. A little sub rushing inside. Yeah, I think he's going to be highlighted.
I'm going to go with my Patriots crush, Jabril Peppers. Offensive rookie of the year.
Caleb Williams. I just think, look, I don't think he's going to be sensational. I think he's going to throw a lot of picks and things like that, but I just think he's going to revive Chicago. I think they're going to be real. I think they're going to be in it. And, I just think it's going to be too tough for the voters to overlook.
They're going to be real, and they're going to be spectacular. I'm going to go with the Patriots, Jalen Polk. Let's go.
Wow.
How about you? That's right. Let's go.
So I am going with, of course, I'm staying, in character. I'm going with, and by the way, I spelled it Jaden Robinson, Layden Robinson, the right guard. I just think he's going to be, you remember when Onwenu came on and he was really good his rookie year? I don't know why, but I think Robinson's going to be even better. Of course, Onwenu was like a 6th-round pick and Robinson was a 4th-round pick, but I just think that kid, even though he had his struggles, I loved how he had his struggles early in that preseason game, but he rebounded and he actually played really well. I think he's going to be a beast inside for them at right guard.
Defensive rookie of the year.
I have Jared Verse of the Rams. Edge guy. He's going to have to pick up a lot of the Aaron Donald's slack. I don't like a lot of these. I mean, some people will go Latu or, Byron Murphy, I think is going to be great. And he, the defensive tackle for the Seahawks, I mean, he's probably my favorite defensive player, but those guys, I think Aaron Donald's the last defensive tackle to get that. And he's not going to have the kind of pass rush numbers that Aaron Donald did.
Murphy fell right into the lap of Seattle, and he was exactly what they needed.
Yep.
I'm angry at you because I also had Verse, and I thought I might surprise you with that one, but you stink. The Patriots Defensive Player of the Year, Greg.
So they don't really have one. Your possibilities are Del Pettis,
That's my guy.
undrafted free agent, or Marcellus
go.
Dial, which, last time he was burnt toast in the preseason game, so I'm not picking him. I did want to take one moment to mention, so I was at a practice the other day, and this guy, Oshawn Mathis, this outside linebacker, number 32, that they picked up on the practice squad. Holy cow, that dude is a dude. Like, I was like, who the hell is that? Like, he is built like an Adonis. And so, who knows? Look for him to get a shot at some point. And when you see him out there and you're like, it reminds me a little bit of Jamie Collins, but more in like a safety body, if that makes sense. But anyways, I just wanted to point that out. Good looking dude off the hoof.
Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year, Jim Harbaugh. I think that he is everywhere he goes, he has an instant impact, and that's I can't wait for him to resurrect Justin Herbert and lead him to multiple Super Bowl titles for all the people who are just like, oh, he doesn't win enough and like he's kind of choky. Like, come on, Brandon Staley was his freaking coach. Like, what are we talking about? And so Jim Harbaugh of the Chargers, not the Rams, is going to be the coach of the year.
Staley sucked. Jim Harbaugh I had down, so I'll do something different here. I don't know. Top of my head, I'll go Dan Campbell. Why the hell not? Patriots assistant coach.
So I'm going to go with Scott Peters, the offensive line coach. I think it's because where the bar is, and I think in fairly short order, I think they'll get things settled on the offensive line, and I think the wide zone running scheme will take hold. They'll get the timing down and all that, and I think they'll have a decent unit. And so, for where the expectations are right now, I think by the end of the year, you're going to think Scott Peters and Robert Kugler, the assistant offensive line coach, those guys did a hell of a job.
Mike Pellegrino. I think the defense will be good, and I think the defense will be good because of that secondary. So give me Mike Pellegrino. Greg, tell the fine people about Game Time.
It's that time of year. It's football season. It's getting a little chilly out at night. It's just football. You could smell football in the air. And to be part of it, you got to be there. You got to be at the game, whether it's college. BC's doing a good job with Billy O. Go up to the Heights, take in a game, or get down to Gillette to watch the Patriots. And to help you get there and get the best deal, you got to go to Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks fill out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I love the all-in pricing. You just click a button, you see it, you know the fees that you get at other places where you're just like, holy cow, this is like double the amount that I thought I was going to pay. You just need to click that button. You'll know exactly what you're going to pay. No surprises at the end. Seat views, it's a must for me. You get panoramic views from your seat in the app before you buy. I need to know what I'm looking at, where I am, what sideline, whatever. I need to know the information. I was just looking through the app. Look like some really good deals for me, for Patriots at the Jets Thursday night. I know you got to deal with Jets fans. Just stay out of the third level. There's some good deals in the second level. That's a lot safer. I've been there a lot. But go check out the deals over there. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
All right, before we get to our game picks and thoughts about this game against the Bengals on Sunday, I remind all of you that you want to check out BSJ, $50 for the year. Bedard, Giardi doing great tag team work over there about the Patriots, writing about the Patriots. And I saw John Corrales had a write-up on his interview with Joe Mazzulla. I watched the first part of that last night. So you want to check that out. Mazzulla is a very, very interesting and unique individual. And he's a madman. It's a fantastic. He's talking about how he was studying the breath control of Broadway actors and actresses when he went to Broadway with his wife, because he found it fascinating about their ability to sing and then talk within 4 seconds of each other. And he wanted to see their breathing patterns. I'm like,
I mean, and also he went to the U.S. Open tennis and he's charting unforced errors and stuff. Like,
and how many times they spoke to their coaches during their matches. It's unbelievable. Also, I remind you, download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS, $50 instantly when you play $5. That's $50 instantly when you play $5. CLNS is the code. You don't even need to win to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, speaking of picks, Greg, Patriots at the Bengals, game 1 of the 2024 NFL season. The Bengals are 8.5-point favorites. This number has gone down a little bit. It started at around 9.5. Some places have it down to like 7.5. So the money is coming in on the Patriots. The over-under is 40.5. What say you, Greg Bedard?
So, a couple things at play here. I think that the Patriots are largely an unknown, with new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, but same sort of scheme. I think DeMarcus Covington as defensive coordinator is going to be a lot like Brian Flores than, say, Steve Belichick or Matt Patricia. I think he's going to be, very aggressive. I think there's a lot of things going on in Cincinnati with the whole Jamar Chase thing. How happy is T. Higgins about his contract situation? You got Trent Brown's going to be out there. Joe Burrow has a history of not playing well early on in the season, especially in the season opener. I don't think these guys got a ton of work in the preseason. The Patriots got a lot of work in the preseason. I always like teams that do that. I think they have a chance to start faster. I think that Joe Burrow coming back from this wrist thing, another reason why I was a little cooler on the Bengals. I don't know how healthy he is, and I don't know how healthy he is going to be the whole season. And, I just think the Patriots have the ability, as long as Jacoby doesn't turn the ball over. I think that they can hold down the Bengals. They're never really high flying in the opener. Joe, I think, will turn it over a time or two. And I just think it's going to be closer than people think. So I'm going to go Bengals 20, Patriots 13. So that is under the 40.5.
I'm impressed that you did that quick math in your head.
Yes.
I'm going to go Patriots plus 8.5. Just too heavy for a week 1. I just think it's too many points, and many people agree with that. That's why the number continues to go down, as I just mentioned. So if you can jump on this, I think I jumped on it earlier in the week when it was 9 or 9.5. So Pats plus 8.5, too many points there. Van Pelt does have a good history against Cincinnati, so that's something to think about. Chase, even if he plays, I don't think he's going to be, out there as much as if he had a full camp. So who knows how much he plays if he plays. And Cincinnati really has an issue up front against the run. And I think the Patriots can pop some runs against this defense. So give me the Patriots. Similar score to you. I got it like, 23-16. So a touchdown difference there. And, of course, that would also be just under the 40.5 with a total of 39. So those are our thoughts. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. We're back early next week to recap what happens on Sunday. Until then, have a great weekend. Enjoy the football. It's going to be a lot of fun. Should be a great season. We'll talk to you next time.